We've spoken at length, haven't we, about the, it's not 1 in, 1 out, it's something like 17 in, 1 out. Anyway, today, the government have been talking tough and actually showing that they mean what they say. They've released some new footage about these Channel migrants being detained. Without further ado, let's cross live to our home and security editor, Mark White. Good evening to you, Mark. Bring the viewers up to speed with what has been going on.
Well, Michelle, I think the first thing to say is this is welcome. Any transparency, the government giving us an ability to look at areas and places we don't normally get an opportunity to see with regard to the migrant crisis, which is a really big issue for people right across the country. The first video we want to show you is at the Western Jetfoil at Dover Harbour. Now, this is familiar to our audience because this is where we film, where I'm normally on the cliff tops looking down on this from afar, is where the Border Force vessels come in, the migrants come up the gangway and then into the tents, the marquees there and other sort of prefab buildings in that area. And there they're medically assessed, triaged, just given that sort of initial cursory sort of examination before they're then moved on to the next video we can show you, which is the Manston detention processing centre, I should say, just further up the coast near Manston Airport. And this is a bigger facility, and it's normally up to 48 hours that the migrants are held there. Lots of facilities aimed at gaining as much information about these people as possible, biometric data such as fingerprints, DNA and alike, because remember, the people smugglers tell these people to throw away their passports and other identifying documents. So it could be a real job trying to gather as much information and bottom out who might be a threat to national security. Now, we can show you another video of an immigration detention centre, removal and detention centre. These are migrants that have been chosen for removal to France, and they are being taken to the detention centre. So they are not, as normally is the case, being bussed off to a hotel near you or indeed a house of multiple occupation as is increasingly common. A bit of a shock for these individuals, I'm sure, as they are taken not to that hotel or other accommodation but to a detention centre. And there they will stay until they can be removed. The other video that we can show you again just shows part of that process, vehicles coming in to that detention centre. We think this may be Harmondsworth near Heathrow Airport. The Home Office not confirming that, but my eagle eye tells me it might be. And as I say, they will be there, Michelle, for some time. The French have 2 weeks to respond to the UK government to accept those that have been listed for return to France. They can veto that. It doesn't quite work the other way, it seems, but the French can veto that. And of course, all the while, if these people get acting on their behalf, human rights lawyers, the NGOs and activist groups, then it could be potentially appealed and bogged down in the courts. Now, Yvette Cooper today said she didn't think that would happen, that France is a safe country to return these people to. But there's all kinds of avenues within the Human Rights Act that these human rights lawyers and associates have been become very expert at being able to find the best possible way of ensuring that they get their clients, that those that they're representing get to stay, such as I'm sure they could put in and will put in an argument that even though they may be going to the safe country that is France, there is a risk they could be then returned to another country that is not France. That's the kind of legal argument we've seen rehearsed in the years past under the Conservative government, where they tried and tried and tried to get the Rwanda scheme off the ground and never quite managed it before they lost office.
Interesting stuff. Mark White, thank you for that update. Kelvin McKenzie, what do you think?
Do you want to save a boatload of cash this summer, wherever you have a trip planned? The one thing you're going to need is access to the internet and on the go. And you can do that easily with Saily. Hit the link in the description to get 15% of your first eSIM plan ready for your trip so you can browse to your heart's content. Saily gets you a local SIM card you can use when traveling so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a message or check the latest news. Now, they've got plans in over 160 countries, 8 regions, so pretty much everywhere, wherever you're going, they'll be able to make sure you're connected. So how does it work? All you've got to do is this. Hit the link in the description to download the app. It will work on iOS or Android. Buy a plan. You can choose an amount of data and time frame that suits you best. And then just install the eSIM on your phone. When you land at your holiday destination, you can activate your plan instantly. And if that wasn't enough, Saily eSIMs only ever have to be installed once. So when you go on your next trip, you just buy a plan for a new country, turn that eSIM back on, and boom, you're back watching me on GB News. I'll be using a Saily SIM on my next holiday because it's actually faster than some of the hotel Wi-Fis. You can get unlimited data if you want, so you can scroll away to your heart's content. And when you leave the hotel, you don't have to do that annoying thing of Wi-Fi hopping because you've got constant connectivity wherever you go. And they've got 24/7 support as well and a full refund policy if your eSIM isn't compatible. So get sorted for your next trip. Download Saily using the link in the description below. And if you use the code NEWS at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on us. So click the link, download Saily, and use the code NEWS at checkout.
I've found the film of watching of those migrants coming in to our nation quite gut-churning, to be honest. Forget about the verbiage that went with it. After all, at the best estimates, it's 1% of one in, one out. It's around about 50 based on, 4,000 a month. Therefore, it's neither here nor there. And in fact, you could argue, depending on whether Mark Wright's piece is accurate or not, that once the lawyers get together, it'll be one in, no out. So I take this to be a piece of PR for the summer on the basis that this is normally the busiest time across the channel. And Labour have got to say something. They tried saying smash the gangs. That didn't work. So why don't we throw in a bit of one in, one out and hope for the best? And that's where we are. But what's upsetting is that film like this is going out on every airwave, on every news network, every night now, one way or another. And we're no further forward. And by the way, I'm not blaming Labour particularly for this. I blame them because they don't admit that they've got no idea. I blame the Tories. And so I feel desperate, to be honest.
Bill?
No, I don't feel desperate. I think this is really welcome. And no other government has achieved this of actually getting a deal with the French to return illegal migrants to France. This was actually a deal that Robert Jenrick proposed when he was immigration minister to Rishi Sunak, and the Tories could never deliver it. So I think it is really welcome. The fact, Kelvin, that it's going to be televised with this footage, I think is equally welcome because that creates a deterrent. Migrants will be able to see that you can come here, you can immediately be put in detention, and potentially you can be returned to France. And yes, it's going to start small. It's a trial, and it's taken huge political and diplomatic heavy lifting to get the French to agree to this. More importantly, to get the European Union not to block it. And we've got there. So we start small, you test that it works. And then this, alongside the border security bill, which is now coming out of the House of Lords.
You know what?
And the ramping
Bill,
up
I've been sitting opposite you. Bill, I've been sitting opposite you when you embrace smash the gangs, right?
Yeah.
And so, look,
all it is
more words.
Hold on, Kelvin. The legislation to smash the gangs hasn't yet received royal assent. Once it does, you talk to police insiders and they think it will have an impact. There's not a silver bullet here. This is hugely challenging and complicated for any government.
Well, I wish the silver bullet were fired at the smugglers, as you well know. I'm in favour of sending our either the SBS or the SAS into these other countries and actually solving the problem in a rather more violent different way, since I guarantee to you no normal legislation run by normal politicians of any kind is going to work until we get a Farage-like figure who decides we are pushing these people back.
Do you know what? The last Labour government, of which I was a member of, we cut asylum numbers from 100,000 a year to 20,000 by the time we left office. But it was a multi-pronged approach, and it took 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but the world's moved on since then, though, Bill.
Sorry?
The world's moved on since then.
But it was a multi-pronged approach, and that's what you need now. There's no silver bullet. Yes, you need the border security bill. Yes, you need this deal with France. You need a lot more returns agreements across the world, and you need a massive crackdown on illegal working. And the government is ramping that up. All those things together.
Come on, when you say the government's ramping it up, illegal working, so this annoys me a little bit, illegal working, so the government talk all this tough rhetoric, they turn around, everyone with a brain cell knows that these guys are going to work for delivery companies like, not exclusively, things like Deliveroo, Uber, those kind of people. The government wouldn't even share the data of these asylum hotels with those companies initially. It turned around and said, we've got to respect confidentiality and safety, etc., of the residents of those hotels. It was only after a massive backlash, public backlash to that information, that they then U-turned and went, yeah, all right, then, we'll give you that information. Now, if you were serious as a government about clamping down on illegal working, you wouldn't need random public opinion to force you to U-turn, because that would be your point A starting position.
But it hasn't been random public opinion. The number of...
They wouldn't give them the information,
The number
Bill.
of hits on illegal working has gone up threefold since Labour came to office, because there's focused effort. That's a threefold increase of people being identified and prosecuted and dealt with.
I'm not talking about identified, prosecuted and dealt with. I'm talking about we have a current visual situation. People are being enticed to cross over this channel to go and work in the economy of delivering food. By the way, I find myself questioning who are providing these very high-powered electric bikes to these men, because these things are not cheap. Apparently, these guys haven't got no money apart from 40-odd quid a week that we give to them. So where are they getting these bikes from that can often cost thousands of pounds? Who's looking into that? But at the end of the day, when everybody knows that these companies are taking on these men, to refuse or not to have as your starting position that we are going to be an open book with this data to these companies, that as my starting point. It wasn't this government's starting point. Nobody will convince me that it was. It was only because of a backlash, a public backlash, that they U-turned on their policy.
Well, the government set out with the objective of significantly increasing the number of hits on illegal working, and they've achieved that. Now, that on its own won't resolve this problem, and it will take time.
Why won't you concede my point, Bill? If as a government you're serious...
Because the government has responsibility for public safety, and, that is within the midst...
Don't make me laugh. If the government has got a responsibility for public safety, they would not be putting these men, many of whom seem to have some kind of predisposition to thinking that they can do whatever they want with the women of these countries. They wouldn't be putting these men in amongst the communities and putting women and children at risk if their primary concern was safety of the British public.
Well, if you're going to resile from the Refugee Convention and simply not accept potential asylum seekers, fine. That's not the position of the government. It's not been the position of successive governments. You have to process the claims. You have to deal with the problem. You have to put in place a deterrent.
That actually is the nub of it, though, isn't it? That actually we are now taking refugees from any place that there is a war.
If you're a genuine asylum seeker or genuine refugee, why are you throwing your identification documents in the channel then?
No. What I'm saying is that anywhere where there's a battle going on anywhere in the world, they will come here now, right? We seem to have a massive problem. But don't you think 50,000 people a year is a lot of people, Bill? You seem so relaxed about it. I am not relaxed
Kelvin,
about it. I am steaming mad about it.
And I'm angry and I'm not relaxed, but I believe in practical solutions to deal with the problem.
You believe in process, but you believed in smash the gangs. We had the conversation on that. That didn't work, and now we have one in, one out.
It's rubbish, Kelvin. It's not that it's not worked. The legislation...
You saying that smash the gangs, actually, once somebody starts signing something, is actually going to one day we're going to wake up and say, oh, there's not 4,000 this month, there's 400.
Yeah.
Do you believe that will happen?
Once the legislation is in place and the police have got those powers to go after them, then I think
No.
In part, it will make a difference.
No, it won't make any difference.
The other things that
it won't make any difference because that's over here. Over there, they are running riot, and you know that.
Just as a reminder, of course, these crossings are up about 50% where they were previously. So you can be the final judge as to whether or not you think this the farce that is smash the gangs will work or not. But tell me, that footage, when you see the footage of those men decked out in the brand new clothes that you've paid for, do you actually sit there and go, yes, this is what we need, it's finally going to work, or not?